Draftosaurus is a very simple pick and pass drafting game in which players will be picking and passing meeple dinosaurs made of wood, and then they will place them on their park again to create the most exciting dino park around. At the end of the game, player with the highest score wins the game. So each player will have a board such as this one. It is double-sided, so you can choose to play with one side or the other. The rules are the same, but they score in different ways. Or you can also choose to have an epic game in which you play one side, check the score, play the other side, add the two scores together, and see what happens. Then you also have a die with different kinds of symbols. The unusual idea in this drafting game is that somebody will be the active player, okay, that's not that unusual, but that player will roll the die, and the die will present a restriction that will apply to everybody but that player. So all that the active player does, all that is different, is that they're shielded from that restriction. So for example, everybody but the active player now will have to place the next dinosaur on the side of their board, on the toilet side. Or if that was rolled, then everybody but the player who rolled, they will have to place it on this side. This one represents the woodland, and the rock, if I can find it, the rock represents grassland. Right? It's a rock. So at the beginning, yeah, we're confused about what is the grassland exactly. Do they mean the desert? Somehow this part of the board is called grassland. They could have called it the desert, I believe. Other things, other effects and restrictions will apply. But you definitely want to take a look at this adorable, bag full of wooden dino meeples. A friend of mine complained, but it's thin, you could see through, you could cheat. I'm like, don't cheat, just don't look when you're drafting your dinosaurs. Something more serious to me is that I would prefer a bag that was large and not quite as tall, because my hands are big and I do struggle a bit to I can just stick the hand there and come back with 6 dinosaurs, which is what you're trying to do. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I guess that's good enough. Also, I played the game with with one of my kids, the youngest one, Lou, who is 10. The idea is that after you draw your dinosaurs, you're going to hold them in your hand so other people don't see them, and then you select one, you commit to place it, then you reveal it, you place it, and then everybody passes their dinosaurs and receives another hand of dinosaurs. Again, that requires adult hands, and so we use the box and the lid as a staging area where Luke can place their dinosaurs there, and that's how it works for younger players. But that's a little life hack that I just showed you. So when you have a dino, so after you look at your dinos and you commit to put one down, then you reveal it and you place it in one of the areas of the board, again, following possible restrictions. And for now, that would be all. Suppose I place a dino there, oopsie, and then I get a hand of 5 dinosaurs from the player sitting next to me, and I choose one. And we reveal, and we continue like this, and I'm going to place it there because it makes sense that way, and so on and so forth. So after a while, it may look like this. So the idea is that you'll be placing 6 dinosaurs, then everybody draws a new hand of 6. You place those also, and once everybody has 12 dinosaurs on their board, that is the end of the game, and that is how when you score. Different cages, different pens will work in different ways. This one takes dinosaurs that are all the same, and you simply score the numbers on the rightmost space because you're going to place them left to right. That one is the king of all dino zoos. If the dino that you place in there, you have equal or the most, basically no one has more dinos of that type in their zoo than you, then you get to score 7 points. Here, you can place any combination of dinosaurs and they will score you 7 points if there are exactly 3 there. This area takes dinosaurs that are all different, and again, the highest space that you get to fill up tells you how much you score. This one is the area of love. Each pair of exactly 2 dinos that you place there is worth 5 points. And here If you have a dinosaur and that is the only one of that kind that you have, then that scores you 7 points. So a bit risky because, well, you have to keep track of what dinosaurs are in play at any given time to make sure that, oh, there aren't any left. So I won't get stuck with another one before the end of the game, so I can place that one there. Also, T-Rexes are worth 1 extra point in each space in which they are. So that one, if it scores, an extra point if it's a T-Rex. So T-Rexes just make everything more interesting, what can I say? And then here we have different areas that will score in different ways. So this one, you want to alternate dinosaurs. So one kind, and then the other, and then the other, and so on and so forth, that way. This one, it lets you look at the player, at the board of the player next to you, and you will score 2 points for each dinosaur of that kind that they have on that board. Here again is similar to the one that we had before, the area of love. Again, it's all about couples, but more romantic, a Romeo and Juliet kind of situation. They're separated by a bridge, so close and yet so far. This one, you place one there and you'll be allowed to move that later, so it gives a little bit of flexibility since on this board some of the scoring conditions are a little tighter. Here we have the pyramid. You got a star filling up from the bottom, but super important, that doesn't work. You can't have the same kind of dinosaur adjacent to one another on the same level or above, so that would be a legal placement. And since I have filled up the bottom of the pyramid, then I can start filling up the next layer like so. And I can get a little tight, as you can see, a little tight. And that also scores. So this is the idea. Play 6 rounds, then 6 more, play one side of the board, or play both, but at the end of the game, the player with the highest score wins the game. Draftosaurus is a very simple, very light filler. If you play the two sides back to back, then becomes more of a filler, and maybe more than it needs to be. I really like the simplicity and the idea that you can play it in 15 minutes, 20-minute tops. You can teach it so easily, and makes it, again, the quintessential filler that to me is something that should be easy to set up. It's basically setup. You give everybody a board and you have the bag of dinosaurs and the game is set up and ready to go. You don't even have to shuffle the cards. It's easy to set up, easy to teach, quick to play, and fun to play. Otherwise, why would you play a filler? So this makes it for a really good filler. Of course, it's very similar to other light pick and pass games that we have seen in the last decade or so. Very similar to Sushi Go. There is no doubt you're going to see a similarity, not just in the general idea, but really in the feel, in the flow, in the execution, as it's a simple game with pools of components that are coming around, a simple system of scoring, and windows of opportunity that narrow as the game progresses. Again, it's very similar, but with the fact that you have wooden dinosaurs, and that's not nothing. That is pretty fun. That definitely adds to the visual, physical, material interest of the game. It also makes it a lot harder to play with younger players with smaller hands, but again, you may figure out a way, give them a screen in some way. And then it becomes playable because cognitively, this is definitely a game that a young player can play. And my youngest now is 10. My youngest could have played it a lot earlier in life, and then definitely those dinos would not have fit in that little tiny hand. Not so tiny now, but back in the day. But I digress. The idea remains you're going to be in Sushi Go kind of territory from the point of view of flow and the feel. The biggest difference is the die. And that does present you with interesting decisions and restrictions. So there's a push or luck element that I'm setting up that situation there, but I do not know if that will be open or not. Now, what I'm not sure about, what doesn't seem to add all that much, is the idea that one player will not be restricted by the effect when you're the active player. Well, first, that seems to change vastly depending on the number of players, because with only 2, you'll be free from those restrictions half of the time. With 5 players, not nearly as much. And in general, we kind of forgot. Most of the times, a player was rolling the die, looking at the symbol, and then everybody, including the active player, was following that restriction. So I don't know why there is that exception to the restriction. I don't know that it adds anything. I don't know. I know sometimes we play with it and sometimes we forgot and we didn't feel any significant difference there. But in any case, for a simple light filler, this is one that works. If you like or dislike Sushi Go, you're likely to have similar, if not the same feelings here, because again, the family resemblance is very, very strong here. I personally never mind to have an extra game in my collection with dinosaurs in it, because I just like the theme and the topic. So now to have the option of dinos instead of sushi, that's a fun option for me.